So I get here and there's a queue. There's queues for people who want to register for analytical chemistry. There's a queue for people who are registering for biotechnology. There's a queue for people who are registering for food technology. But in all these courses, there's two queues because there's extended and mainstream. Me, I just chose a queue. Like, is this for food technology? They are like, yes, it's food technology. I stood behind whoever was standing behind. Yeah, Hambi queue. Sis Sophie starts counting people. Like, she goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She gets to 10. Then she's cutting the queue at 10. Guess who's number 11? Me. And she's like, sorry guys, the course is full. There's only spaces for 10 people now. And then from there, the course is full. Yo, never have I cried so much in my life. I think I cried from UJ to Binoni, crying because I didn't get space.
Today I have Minenhle Khoza. Unjani?
Yapi, la leadership. How are you?
I'm well. You know, legama lo Minenhle, I'm sure you don't like being called Mini, right?
No, I actually have learned not to mind. I do prefer being called Minenhle, which is my full name, which has a meaning. It means a beautiful day. I think it's nicer when we say it in full, like a beautiful day, imini entle. But then here and there, people will shorten your name. I mean, I live in South Africa, so I'm used to it. Mini, entle, ni. So, yeah, I don't mind. But yeah, Minenhle. And it also depends on the context. So in public spaces, Minenhle, but at home, if we say Minenhle, then I'm in trouble.
Oh, what do they call it at home?
Mini.
Oh.
Yeah. So if then they say Minenhle in full, then I know. I'm
Yeah,
in trouble. Yeah, Ziakal.
Kuphi ekhaya? Where's home?
So home is home. Angithi yazi ukuthi siyamagoduka in Joburg.
Yeah.
So home is in KZN, Tuba, Enkolokoto, right? It's Godi leso. And then the other home in Joburg is in Binoni, Wattville.
And Nami as a Whiteville, I used to have my father was Bekunendabati Apex.
Yay!
Remember
My uncle
Apex?
used to work at Apex, and I did have relatives at Apex back in the day.
Back in the day, so my father used to have like I need to book some cooking like this were like
Yes,
informal
yes.
settlements there, and my father used to have a small and a shack there, and then they removed them. Baba said
Kingsway.
Kingsway.
Yeah. Yes.
So Masakale Apex. You know, my father used to have some friends there at Wattville, but I was still young then. But I remember coming to Wattville, and you know, and I'm just like, oh, this is another kasi, and you wanna tinangiti cooking like at Wattville, like it's like, you know, like I was like, wow, it's nice here.
Now you know things. Now you know nicer things, ne?
Yeah,
know that
I was like,
your
wow.
thoughts were a bit skewed, nyana. So
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's nicer here. Kuna imikuku lana, abantu baphila kamnandi, kunama tar road, how kanti, you know, and stuff. So you grew up. Where did you grow up specifically?
So I did grow up in Wattville, and then I would go to KZN every holiday that was there, or every time kunomsebenzi ekhaya. You are there, KZN. Yeah.
And how deep is your Zulu? How deep are you into Zulu stuff?
Okay, so it's my Zulu ne. Mangila in Joburg, like everybody thinks, yeah, kulma proper Zulu. And then when I'm at home, I'm actually that one. You're like, utini, yini. You understand? So yes, for Joburg people, my Zulu is proper. But when I'm at home, I think I'm the weakest link with isiZulu. And then I am a very proud Zulu girl. I do love Umaskandi. I've probably seen even on my phone if you are a person who watches my statuses. I'm always listening to Maskandi if I'm not listening to a gospel. So that's how deep it is.
You know, I love the Zulu culture, man. I love the Zulu culture. And one of the things that I grown to like and to appreciate, but in itakazelo, you know,
Mm.
mawuzothi athi umkhize athi mina ngukhabazela, you get what I'm
Eh.
saying? Umthetho unyambose guidelines then doses and stuff. Abakhoza isithini itakazelo zeni?
Siyabo fire, mlilo,
Oh, umlilo.
obukhathini, yebo, obovungane.
Oh
That's
my
us.
God.
Yes.
This is, yeah, no, man, I do love that stuff because it has so much meaning, you know.
Yeah, it
It
does. It does.
it it has so much meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, so today I'm joined by Minenhle Khoza. Minenhle is a lecturer in the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology at the University of Johannesburg. And then she's also the CEO of the Faculty of Best Advisory, which is a non-profit company that deals with mentorship, tutoring, you know, and the likes. One other question that came through was, why did she choose a career in lecturing? I get this a lot as well. You know, when I tell people that I'm a lecturer, I guess people expect to, I don't know, maybe I must be very big. I must
I
wear,
know.
you know, like I must, you know, people will be like, okay, this is my lecture, and they will be like, who? They point at me, they're like, this guy? And I'm like, yeah, you know, and stuff like that. You know, how did you end up choosing a career in this?
Okay, so let's maybe start it from the beginning. I
Yeah.
went from undergrad. So before we even get to undergrad, let's start from high school. So I've always wanted to study something in the sciences. So my dad from childhood, for as far as I could remember, I was always called the scientist. So that's how he'd refer to me, like scientist, scientist, scientist. So it was engraved in my mind. I knew I was gonna study something in the sciences. I just didn't know what in science, right? And then I think there was a phase, yeah, yokufuna ukuba, to study chemistry at some point, and then it moved when I touched the microscope for the first time in grade 10. From there, I wanted to become a microbiologist, so I was going to study microbiology. Then I ran with the microbiology idea from grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. That's what I was going to study. Then in grade 12, I applied for microbiology at VETS. Right? I'm gonna study at VETS. I didn't apply to other universities, by the way. Near VETS, Mina. And then near VETS, and that's it. Right? And then from there, I did go to VETS, write a selection test. Bekupuma results on that day, like your academic metric results in January. I think it was the 4th of January or something, back in 2011. So I went there, wrote the selection test. I didn't pass the selection test. Now reality hit. What are we gonna do? Because usisi applyanga in other universities. But fortunately, I think my dad had it should have been my dad who had applied for me at UJ. I think as a backup plan because he was an old person and he knew that in life you can't just have plan A and plan A alone. There has to be plan B. If C is possible, let's have plan A, B, C, and D, right? So with me, I had my head on vets and that's what I wanted and it's all I was thinking about, right? Hence the one application. So he had, I think, applied for me for biochemistry and botany and biochemistry. I got there. Nama queues. I'm sure you can quite remember those, right? Where we could do walk-ins. So we queued in Auckland Park, right? UJ APK. We queued. If you know UJ APK and you know where McDonald's is, we queued. We were like surrounding us a McDonald's. It was a very long queue. And then I went there for 2 days. I only got in on the third day. And I would leave Wattville at 4 a.m. to go and queue. Funi space. And then I wouldn't reach where I'm supposed to reach because the queues would be so crazy long, such that people would be sleeping in the queues, especially for those who come from other provinces. But yeah, eventually I got into the queue, and then giving them my academic results, my ID, trying to look for space in science, and then they actually find out that I have actually applied for botany and biochemistry, but it's now full. And then I was told that I must go. There's another campus called UJ Donfontein campus. You must remember, Minangas Gutskune UJ, and I'm thinking it's one campus and that's it. So then I went to UJ Donfontein campus, right? I walked, by the way, from APK to Donfontein because I do know where do we catch
Wait,
taxis.
you walked from where? From APK to
From
Durfontein.
APK, I walked to Donfontein.
Hey, that's a very long distance actually.
It is a very long distance, and I'm not even familiar with the environment by then. I was walking with a friend. She also wanted space, but she couldn't get space. So it takes a what will we told her a Wanderers. When we got to Wanderers, she's like, "Hey, Mina, I'm going home. I'm not going to this Donfontein of yours." Now I'm busy asking taxi drivers there, Donfontein ngakuphi? They're just like, Google Pilap, UJ. Most people know UJ as the APK campus, so they're like, I ingaphi Auckland Park. I'm like, bathe khona enye eseDonfontein, until I met one taxi driver who described it as it being next to Ellis Park Stadium. Then direct ukuthi ngizohamba kanjani to get to Ellis Park, right? Then I walked. Hey, there's some dodgy streets here in Joburg. I walked by the dodgy streets, saw all the things that I wasn't supposed to see, but eventually got to UJ. And then when I got here, there were spaces in analytical chemistry, biotechnology, and food technology. Those were the courses where they could still put me on a waiting list. And then I chose food technology, right? From there, I attended orientation, but as one who's on the waiting list, waiting for someone not to pitch someone so that I can get a space. So I attended orientation, got into the course. But before registering, right? Okay, they called me to say I should come and register. There was a space. Then I queued. Back in the day, there was extended and mainstream for these courses that I mentioned. So Mina, I didn't know that there was extended and mainstream. I just knew that I'm here. I'm gonna be doing food technology. I'm on the waiting list, but I've been called to come and register. Then I came, and then there used to be our academic administrative assistant, right? Ma'am Sophie, or Sis Sophie as we would call her. I didn't know her name at the time. I get here and there's a queue. There's queues for people who want to register for analytical chemistry. There's a queue for people who are registering for biotechnology. There's a queue for people who are registering for food technology. But in all these courses, there's two queues because there's extended and mainstream. Me, I just chose a queue. Like, is this for food technology? They are like, yes, it's food technology. I stood behind whoever was standing behind. Yeah, Hambi queue. Sis Sophie starts counting people. Like, she goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She gets to 10. Then she's cutting the queue at 10. Guess who's number 11? Me. And she's like, sorry guys, the course is full. There's only spaces for 10 people now. And then from there, the course is full. Yo, never have I cried so much in my life. I think I cried from UJ to Binoni, crying because I didn't get space. And then I think that was on a Thursday, if not a Friday. So in the midst of that, in the midst of that, I had went to Val University the following day because I had a cousin who was studying there to look for space. Then I remembered there was a cousin of mine doing homeopathy here at UJ. I told him. And also, when you're doing first year, you are not quite understanding how university systems are. It's not at high school. It's not mems banbani, but my understanding was when the homeopath angithi ufunda la, let's go with you. See a class in lane and then you tell your teachers that I want space. So my cousin being so loving, shame, and he, because I was crying almost every day now because of this, he took me to his faculty, which was the Faculty of Health Sciences. So we went to his department, and then he started showing them my academic results. There was a lecturer there, looked at my results, and she's like, "Hey, Tidama courses is what offer you need to be here ahead of time. Like if you're gonna be doing nursing, you have to be attached or associated with a hospital already for you to do your practicals. If it's radiography, there has to be a hospital that has agreed to take you and signed that you will do your practicals there. So there's no space." And then she's looking at my results. She's like, "Ah, mtanam, and upase kahle, like maybe you can go and do computer in the meantime, or uyenze driver's license." You know, the typical advice that they give to everyone who doesn't get space. Yo, ngakhala kakhulu Ben. I told you I crying it when she said that, because I'm just looking at myself. I'm like, computer or driver's license. Like I have a dream. I want to go to school, and I know I'm capable, and my marks are saying it. And then siphume kule office, like this lecturer, because she couldn't assist us. And then I'm like, "No, who's your other teacher? Take me to your other teacher and tell them that I want space." And then I think he took me to the head of department. He looked at my marks. I think this day was now a Friday. I'm not. I can't remember the days. I mean, it was back in 2011, so you can imagine it's quite back then, right? But yeah, we went there, and then he looked at my marks. I think wrote me an acceptance letter because there was still space in homeopathy. Then I was told to come back the next week to come and register now for the course. I need to know there's some courses that are not popular that nobody knows about. So I think, but universities know their targets in terms of what, yeah. So I think it was one of those homeopathy. He was also studying homeopathy. I think even now it's not one of the popular courses. By then I didn't even know what homeopathy is, but I can tell you this: I was willing to go and study this. All right, which is what happens to most people. If you can ask them about their courses, most of them it was just a matter of where was the space, and then they went and studied that. So I went, came back, tried to register. So my bank register, and then this lady who's trying to help me with the registration is like, It's impossible for you to be accepted in two faculties at once. When you've been accepted in the Faculty of Science for Food Technology, and now you have this letter and you are accepted in the Health Sciences, it can't be possible. What exactly do you want to study between the two? Now I have an option to choose whether homeopathy or this food technology that I was told was full. All right, and then she asked me question, "What do you know about homeopathy?" Ngidla amazambane laphaya. I can't really describe what is supposed to be happening there. Then she's asking me about food technology. I'm explaining, and then she's like, "Hey, let me call the Faculty of Science." She calls the Faculty of Science. I have a student here with me. She's accepted there, but now she wants to register. She also has an acceptance letter for our faculty. So I think you guys should register her because benim kuqala. Then Sis Sophie is like, obviously a university bakhuluma ngama student number. Ngithi, "Give me the student number." She's punching the student number that side. And she's like, "I've been waiting for that one to come and register. I don't know what happened to her." So ngiyaya laphaya, and then ngiyafika, she's like, "Where have you been?" And ama classes aqalile by then. Kids are a week in with classes. Mina, I'm still battling about registration. So she's like, "You were supposed to be here last week. Where were you?" Then I explained to her that no, I was in the queue and I was number 11, and you cut the queue, and I was crying, but there was nothing I could do because space was full. And then she looks at my marks, and then she says, ubani extended la kulama results. So I was in the wrong queue. I was supposed to be in the mainstream but I had queued in the wrong queue for the extended group. Then she registered me, and that's how I started in food technology. And I did my first year, second year, up until I finished my undergrad. And then I then decided, oh, go undergrad year too, we do in-service training, right? Where we go to the industry for a year, and we get work integrated learning, right? Where you actually work, you earn a stipend, you get a feel of what your industry is all about. So I was in a nice company called Jivaden SA. We were working with flavors. It was very nice. We did that and then came back for my last semester, and then I was done with my undergrad, a national diploma in food technology. And then I pursued a BTech in food technology. That's where I can say my potential was unleashed. Right, I knew, okay, I want to be a scientist, I'm capable, but to what extent I wasn't quite sure, right? So when I did the BTech, that's where you start having a research project. So I did a research project on marula, right? I was using marula and I was making juice out of that and looking at the effects of heat processing on the shelf life of your marula, and also on its health properties, antioxidants, if they're becoming decreased and so on. So from there, we also have to present these projects to the whole department, right? Kind of like defending your research work type of a thing. So yeah, I became number one in that. So and then just like that, I got funding to do my masters. You know how research supervisors spot talent at a very young or lower level of studies. So yeah, there was someone who was like, I'm gonna be funding this student, Prof. Njobe, from our department. I'm gonna fund her. She must come back and do her studies. By then, that's when I now started taking interest in research and what would then lead me to be an academic today, right? So unfortunately, in December 2015, that's when I was doing my BTech. My dad passed away in 2015 on Christmas Day. It was one of
Sorry about
those.
that.
Thank you, leadership. So it was one of
Sorry.
those. From there, I'm just like, hey, manja, I have to go there, and everybody knows. Like my dad and I were skim fede fede. We were very very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm now thinking, I'm gonna be in this environment where people are feeling sorry for me, and it was quite a lot for me. So I then decided, I think I need a change in scenario for just a bit, be somewhere where people don't really know the nitty gritties of my life. Fortunately, I got a job at Clover in 2016. So February 2016, I then started working at Clover. So I'm just taking you through how I decided to become an academic lecturer. So in February 2016, I started working at Clover. I was now staying with my brother. He was staying in Midrand. So I was working at Clover Clayville. And then I would also go to their Olifants, what was it called? So they had another plant. I would work in two processing plants, the one in Clayville and the other one. So I worked there. Oh, by the way, I graduated cum laude for my BTech. And then I'm there at Clover. So sisebenza ama-shift manje ne. Nongena ngo-6, ushayise ngo-6 p.m. And then some people are kind of making remarks like, how ukum laude usebenza shift njengathi nawe, like uku 66. Mina bengizitholela bo 50%, and we are in the same lab now.
So these people knew you. The people who are asking you, like saying to you, cum laude, you're also working our shift. Who are these people? How do they know you?
So it's people in the factory. Until you get there, you work in the lab. So obviously you do talk. That no, I was doing my BTech, and then somebody just ended at undergrad level, and they were an average student. Forms of bullying in a way. And Jeman Kulu, when it's like, when people make you feel like, yes, you've put in the effort. I didn't put in as much effort, but look at us, we are all in the same place. It was those type of dynamics. And I knew that I was I was there, yes, I was working, and it was very good for me to learn more about the industry, learn another, and have a feel yokuthi kunjani ukuvuka and work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Or work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. if you are doing that night shift. And my interpersonal skills were really harnessed there, like talking to people, because you work with factory people. There are some of them and don't have qualifications, but the knowledge they have, wow. So you get to learn to interact with people and so on. But I just realized something about myself. Labo 6 to 6 were not gonna work for me, and the only way I could escape that was either I get a job in research and development, at least the hours there are quite nice and flexible, or I get a job in academia. And I knew I was good, and I knew that if I apply for funding, I'm gonna get it. I mean, I've just graduated cum laude in a distinction, so funding will definitely be there. And I know that I'm quite smart if I have to blow my own horn. So why not go there? And I can teach, like I can teach. I could see if I'm with my friends and we are explaining concepts that they are grasping what I'm saying. So why not go back to school? Then in 2017, oh, and my supervisors also wanted me because they saw potential in me from my BTech research work. So in 2017, I came back to UJ, registered for my master's. Now I was doing research on marula fruit peels and orange peels, trying to see if I'm using the peels instead of using your, what we say, synthetic antioxidants. If I extract antioxidants from these peels and try to stabilize the salad dressing, what would the shelf life look like, right? And then I did that 2017 to 2018. I was doing my master's for 2 years. So in the midst of doing my master's, I'm also a tutor, right? I'm tutoring your undergrad students. And my supervisor again believed in, like, she would push you to where you're supposed to go. So every once in a while, she would go with me into her lectures. I would sit there, give me a small portion of the lecture for
Oh,
me to
wow.
deliver to the students. Yeah, some people can spot potential in
Yeah.
people. She's been that for me. So she would give me those opportunities, and then also with us, because cinema practicals. So I would also go there for the practicals, the lab demonstrations. Before the practical starts, you have to give a mini lecture on that. You explain to the students, this is what we'll be doing, this is the science behind the lecture, give the theory background. So I would have to prepare slides for that. Already the academic career is starting within the master's level. And then in 2019, I was already given a class. First semester, second semester, I had my own classes now. I'm lecturing students. I'm in the AP Tech because I was also very good. I told you I got distinctions. So they knew I understand the concept. Then I taught here from first semester 2019, I taught. Second semester 2019, I taught. I'm now independent. I'm not tutoring for anyone. If anything, I have my own tutors, and I'm now teaching on a contract basis. Then from there, 2020, that's when I became like a lecturer and became part of the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology as a permanent staff member. Right. So yeah, that's how I chose, or that's how lecturing and I met each other.
What a story. I want to ask you this, but before
Yes.
that, you lecture food regulations, food technology 3, food production 3, and food technology. And I think you're also a WIL, Work Integrated Learning Coordinator.
Yes.
And then this food technology 3 is like third year, right? And food production 3 is like third year. When I saw that, I was like, Minenhle is up there. Because when you start lecturing, they give you like courses like first year courses and stuff like that. So for you to lecture like third year courses, like you're really there.
So I had already done my preparation, like I'm telling you that Mina Prof Kaitesi, who was my supervisor, would go with me. So in the first year things, I already knew those things because I would lecture. So I would go with her when she does introduction to food technology for the first years, and um then they gave me BTech right in 2019. So that's how I moved the leather quite fast. But yeah, then I'm now lecturing food technology 3, which is a exit module actually. Also, I do lecture food regulations in the first semester for third years, right? And then if food technology 3 is for fourth years, if food regulations is for third years. So I prepare them before they go for industry. Then with work integrated learning, it's me. Oh, this I love. It has its challenges, but it's quite a fun course to coordinate, especially because of my personality and my interests J as a person in general. So with work integrated learning, what I actually do is I prepare my students, of course, with the UJ Academic and Career Development Center assisting me, but you assist them, so you prepare them for the workplace, right? From being that big sister Nje who would give them those pep talks of what is expected in the industry, what skills do you need to have when you go into a workplace, how to prepare for an interview, how to behave in an interview, how to behave in a workplace environment, up until you become a final product. So I get to have these long-lasting relationships with my students, because even beyond work integrated learning, once they are done with that, if they need a job, and I'm quite related and connected to companies in industry, because when they need a student, they have to tell me that we need a food technology student. So if they need now people who will be permanent, they come back to me and tell me, and then I tell my graduates that there's actually a graduate program, or there's a job wherever, then they get to apply. So when they do get their jobs, then they become so excited. They'll tell me, yo, ma'am, you won't believe it, I got a job at this company. And as I grow, they also grow, right? So they
Yeah.
will then get jobs. And then now when I need to place students, I have people in industry who I know, who make it easy for me to place my students. So that's
That's
what I
very
do.
fantastic. That's very
Yeah.
fantastic because I also want us to dive deep into this food technology thing because
Yes.
I guess a lot of people, I didn't know about it that much until I'm hosting you because I had to check what is food technology, biotechnology, and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, this is something else. But before we move into that, I have a problem, you know,
Yes.
a very funny problem. Me and you are lecturers, right? So with me, I guess people have a perception of what a lecturer should look like and maybe should sound like, right? So, and my problem also is that maybe I don't wear smart. I think that's another problem that I have. Like I can go to lecture like this, like just dressed up like a sweater and stuff like that. So classes are about to start, and every first day of lecture, it looks like a prank. Like the students, you know, I get there and I'm like, hey guys, okay, my name is Ben. I'm your lecturer. I'm not, you know those things that you say in the first lecture, and they just like I can see in their minds. It's always like they're like it's like it's a prank really, and they start asking me, so how old are you? And another thing is that I don't grow a beard, you know. So that's another disadvantage because now without a beard, you go there with this baby face, and students just look at you like, like is this guy for real? You know, it's only after that. Yeah, it's only after like now when things get serious, they're like, hey, actually he is our lecturer and stuff. Do you have any? Because I mean, you look young, you are trendy, and I'm sure you are not like as traditional as lecturers are. You know, like you are vibey, you have a good personality and stuff like that. Do you experience those kind of things?
Okay, so in the beginning, I used to, but because of my position within the department, you're gonna meet a Minenhle. So, one way or the other, I think as a first year student, if you know that you are supposed to be going for in-service training already, and you're asking around who's gonna be preparing us for this in-service training. So by the time they see me, they know that this one is she's a part of the department. But you do get those students who joined the group maybe from in second year, and they are from another university, and they do not quite understand or know who I am. Then I do get those faces. They're like, hi, where's ma'am, or where's the real lecturer is coming, this is the tutor. No, it's not the tutor, it's her. So you do get those quite a lot. I even see, if I walk out of the department and I meet other students, they actually think I'm some first year student or a second year student. So I do get that quite a lot. Or when I meet my students wherever, at a mall or something, and then they're like, ma'am, and then you see the reaction in the parents' faces, like, "I lecturer yakho le?" So I get that a lot.
One day I went to class, and I was there early, it was a first class as well. So I sat there, like I sat on the benches. I didn't sit at the lecturing
Yeah.
booth. I sat on the benches. So the students came in. So they find me there. So probably they thought that I was one of the students. So they started asking me questions like, hey, have you done this tutorial? And obviously I've looked at it. So I'm just like, yeah. Then they're like, oh, okay, and stuff like that. Then they start asking themselves, but you lecture to Ben, like, oh, I wonder how he is. They're saying things, I'm sitting there. Man, when the lecture started and now I have to stand up and I'll start the lecture, those students, like, they were very, like, shy because they were saying stuff, when I was sitting down there, and they were just like, now, oh, Kandi, this guy is the lecturer and stuff like that. So what do you love about lecturing?
You're interacting with students. You get to see all sorts of personalities. And I think over the years, I've figured that the personalities are quite the same, just different bodies. I can see a Minenhle in my class, and I'm like, this one is me. This one is Ben. This one is so and so, but it's different individuals. So it's quite interesting for me to observe that and to interact with students. That's what's exciting for me. Interacting with students, also the ability and to be given the platform to actually teach someone something, and they take it with them, and it shapes their life. That's what I love about lecturing.
I don't cry a lot, as you, but there are certain instances that make me, like, they touch me, I can say, get me emotional in a way. So late last year, because you see many faces, so some faces you see them, okay, then they leave, you see others, they leave and stuff. I met this other group of students, and they were graduating, and I was their lecturer in first year. Like, I was so, like, I was just like, man, like, that day I didn't eat. Like, I was just so full, like, so fulfilled. I'm like, wow. So I have lectured somebody, and they've want to graduate. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
It's powerful leadership. It's powerful. I'm sure you stop, and then that's where you pinch yourself. You're like, okay, so this is me, and we are doing this for real, like, we are not playing. And you really do get to impact a lot of lives as a lecturer. You do.
Like, it is so surreal, and it always gets surreal all the time, because myself, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and just like you were saying earlier on, that you'd lecture students, and the next thing, they graduate, they get to work, and for some reason they want to let you know that, hey, sir, I've got a job now. And that's only when you're like, hey, I was part of this, Jenny. And only then I'm like, wow, this is big.
It's really, really big. It's really big, and at a young age, it's big, where you are not. Also, I think also what makes it different is we are still quite young, so you are relatable and quite approachable to learners or to students. They feel like, oh no, like we understand because you are young, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think it's part of the advantages, and we should embrace it. One day you and I will be so old, and all these challenges we are talking about of being young in front of students won't be relevant or applicable anymore. So we should make the most whilst we
definitely,
can.
definitely. Um, so the question that I get the most, especially with students who want to get into academia, um, is always questions around, I guess, being a lecturer is not something very common for most people. I think when we come to university, I think already people are socialized into go to university, get a degree, and go and work. And that means going to work for a company. Because then a lot of students will ask me to say, yeah, is academia good? And by that, I don't know what they mean. Like, elaborate. What do you mean
Money.
good? Yeah, money. It's like, okay, will I get, is it really highly paying and stuff like that? And, then I'll talk to them about that stuff. So, if there are students who want to get into academia, what advice can you give them? Is it worth it? Is it something? What should they check for? Maybe how do they know it's meant for them? Because I get all these questions all the time to be like, I like what you do, but I'm just not sure if I can do it the way you do it. Is this for me? And I'm like, don't do it like the way I do it. You gotta do it like you do it. But but what would you say to things like that?
Okay, I think for me, what you'd have to look at, be realistic first. Can you talk? Like, are you able
Mm,
to talk? Because you will have to stand in front of people and use this instrument to make your money. So that's the number one thing. Can you talk? And I'm not saying can you talk in the sense you're good, we are papa or shy, but can you relay a message to people such that they understand it, right? Because not all lecturers are extroverts. Some lecturers are actually very introverted people, but when
mm,
they stand in front of you, they are able to relay the message in a way that you understand. You do know that there are other smart people, right? Who we consider smart. When they are doing things, they can do it and they understand what they are doing. But when they have to explain it to the next person, it's quite difficult for them. So I'd say look at that first, and then look at the motive behind you wanting to be an academic lecturer. Is it because you think it's fancy? Is it because you think you'll have money? Or do you actually want to be impacting people's lives in that way, where you get to teach them, engage with them? There is marking, so you get to mark. You have to consider all of those things. But more than anything, I don't even think for you to be an academic lecturer, you have to be Albert Einstein of some sort. No, but if you can put in the effort and work and prove yourself, and be able to teach at the end of the day, be able to relay a message, then I'd say maybe along you can say you want a career in there. But more than anything, are you interested in research? Because
mm.
lecturing is not just teaching and it ends there. There has to be research that is done. They say you either publish or you perish. So you also have to think along those lines. Will you be able to do research um, for the rest of your academic career? Right? Are you interested if you are in the sciences and like me in the hard sciences where you need to be in the lab? Are you interested in going to the lab and doing research? Are you interested in supervising people? Are you also interested in forever improving yourself, forever reading? There's a lot of reading. For you to write an article, you first have to go through the literature review. For you to have a literature review, it means you must read other people's work and make sense out of it. For you to have a methodology, you have to go through other people's protocols, make sense of it. They don't even give you the whole thing. So it's all about that. Do you see yourself being able to publish? Do you see yourself being able to teach? Do you see yourself being able to work beyond your working hours? Because that's the reality, right? You do your 8 to 5 or 4 to whatever. I mean, 8 to 4, depending on which university you're at. But you should know you're always teaching. If you are an academic lecturer, even when you're sitting there, you are taking work with you everywhere where you go. Because if there's marking, you can't say, I'm going to mark on campus and then leave the papers here and then I'll see them tomorrow. No, there's deadlines to be met. There's a lot of hard work that goes on in the background. There's a lot of preparation that goes into lectures. Because when you get in there, as much as you prepare your teaching material, you also have to prepare for potential questions. Some students are
Yeah.
very sharp, and you can't be standing there and embarrassing yourself and the whole department that has employed you. So there's a lot of preparation. If you know you're not hardworking, maybe academia is not for you, because you really need
Yeah.
to have that that bone for hard work, man, for taking work with you everywhere. Like, I'm constantly thinking, even when I'm driving in my car, I'm just thinking, how will I be explaining this concept to my students? How can I make it relatable to them? I need to prepare for my class for tomorrow. So you need to be a person who's very flexible in your schedule, in how you do things as well. And also, you must maybe ask yourself, as a modern lecturer, am I relatable as a person? Do I know how to engage with people now, just as at that level of engaging with people? Because gone are the days where academic lecturers had to be those scary people that
Yeah.
say there's a consultation time and we all don't go there because we are scared of that person. Gone are those days where a professor should be, hey, this, you know but in sinatla ngesisuthu samuthi, like, gone are those days. So you need to think along those lines. But if you are passionate about people, if you are hardworking, if you believe you can do research work, then I don't see what's stopping you from pursuing a career in academia.
Do you always get the money question? Because I get a lot of that to say, do you guys earn a lot? And I'm like, by a lot, what do you mean? They're like, no. I think there is this perception that being a lecturer doesn't pay enough. I guess people compare a lot with corporate and stuff like that. Do you get those kind of questions as well?
No, definitely I do get those kind of questions. But also my response is based on who you are. If it's a student, I know that you need help, and you're probably not assuming. You are asking me a question. If you assume, I go with the assumption. You are assuming
Yeah.
most. If you're like, why as the industry, hey, this lecturing I badal, I'm just like,
Yeah.
then I leave you like that, because you're not giving me room to teach you or to explain what is happening. You are telling me what you know. So, and you're not asking for my opinion there. You're just suggesting that I must go one route instead of the other route. So, and I feel like whether it is academia or you are in corporate, you have to start somewhere in every industry.
Sure.
You start somewhere.
Sure.
And if when your drive is just, are we earning or are we not earning, then maybe I'm missing the mark. Or maybe you should actually start thinking, am I even in the right path? Because if you're doing something that you love, as much as people will say passion won't bring food in the table, but passion will sustain you. Working is tiring at times, and if you don't like what you're doing, that's when you will start having your mental breakdowns because of work, because it's a lot and you are not even liking what you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
before we get to the money part, maybe ask yourself, is this even fulfilling for me? Because there's people who do great jobs and great money, but they hate going there. Like, every morning before they go to work, they scream, and they have to tell themselves 20 reasons why they need to go to work, and probably all these 20 reasons are, I'll get money, I'll get money, I'll get money. I'm not sure if that's motivating for anyone. So I do get that question. For me, like you were saying, what is a lot of money? I don't know what that means. Like, do you get a lot of money in relation to what? Depends what a lot of money is to you also as a person. So
Yeah, I guess from what I'm seeing is that, especially with a lot of black students, because I think also because of our poverty backgrounds, we we are we really want something that is highly paying and stuff. And they're still young, they still don't understand the dynamics, like you have said, that it's not only about the money, but it's also about, do you like the work? It's about the environment, the people that you work with, and stuff like that. So I always break it down to them like that. And the other thing is that I think the misconception, because a lot of lecturers that I know, myself personally, those that are even like professors, they are actually having more money than the corporate people that I know, because these professors, what they do, some of them, they publish books, you know they make a lot of money out of that. Some of them, they consult with companies, like if there is a like right now at ESCOM, the engineering professors, they come and consult with them. They make a lot of money out of that. So I find that with a lot of lecturers, as and when they become more experienced and they become experts, they then develop other sources of income, and then they make a lot of money out of that. But people don't see it from that angle. They just see it, oh, okay, this guy's, and also
I don't
because
make
lecturers are very modest. Most of those I know, they are not into material. They just like, same shirt, 1 week.
I think it also, I mean, like I'm saying that when I am lecturing, I'm also looking at the reactions. Maybe part of why we won't be too fleshy. You want to get the message across. You don't want people to be now dazing on your pringle, whatever that you are wearing, and now start
They
derailing from what we are trying to get, right? The message that you are trying to put across. But maybe it's also discipline oriented, because you are in mathematics. It's not fashion designing, so
Yeah,
maybe for a fashion designing lecturer or an arts lecturer or graphic designing, they have to kind of look the part.
the
I
part.
think that's the maybe the other thing. Yeah.
When you explained your story about your whole story in J, going into UJ, you're taken to pillar to post, and then you are, queuing at the wrong queue, and then thereafter you are then, persuading your cousin, and then now there is homeopathy in the way. You meet people who now redirect you back to, and then you are accepted, you didn't know about it and stuff like that, and boom, and now you get into it, you study it, and you do all of these things, and jiggy jiggy, you're a lecturer. I know you're a woman of God. Do you see God in this?
Hi, mangathi angimboni, I would be blind. Like I'd really be blind. I see God in all of it, like from the beginning, from failing that selection test, right? Because chances are I wouldn't have encountered this department. You and I wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd probably be talking about something else. It would have been a different life. So it has God written all over it, if I'm being quite honest with you, and with the audience and myself, right? So there's God from the beginning. And had I known, I wasn't even gonna feel the pain of not being accepted at vets, or not passing the selection at vets, because I will tell you, it did put in a lot of pressure on me. there was there were friends that we were all supposed to go to vets, and then now Mina life has thrown me in a different direction, and then you see your peers are going to this dream university of yours, and you can't go there. You are now in another university, which is very good as well. It's just that also when you grow up, you see one person going to vets, and then you think it's vets or nothing, when there's actually a
Yeah.
lot of, there's like 26 universities in or 26 institutions of higher learning in South Africa. So there's a lot of options, but most of the time there isn't that much information. So I do see God in my story from the beginning. I feel like God knew exactly what he was doing. He, like, every tiny detail of it. Even in my dad's passing, I always sit and think, and I'm like, also, if my dad didn't pass on in 2015, I wasn't gonna go to Clover. I wasn't gonna learn all these things that I've learned at Clover. And also, the opening for the academic lecturer, when it opened, it wasn't gonna be there. I wasn't gonna be at that level. You understand? So everything begins to make sense, and you can see that God has a plan, no matter how hopeless it looks in that period and time. And probably had I been a year older, my academic lecturer, my supervisor now, Prof. Kaitesi, wasn't at UJ. She only came to UJ when I was doing, I think, my 4th year. So you see how everything is just aligned. If
Plenty.
I was just a year older, I wasn't gonna meet her because I would have been done with my diploma. She wasn't gonna realize my potential. Then she wasn't gonna put me to the limits where she did, and I wasn't gonna get the job that I have right now. So everything, I see God in everything in my life.
Yesterday I was reading this quote. I can't. I think I saw it on Instagram, but it was saying God's something about God's time is the best time, blah blah blah. But then on the quote it said that sit down right now and look back at all the things that have happened in your life and tell me if they didn't happen for a good reason.
Yeah, but it's a deep quote, and if you do sit down, you actually realize everything that happens, like every tiny little detail of whatever is happening in your life is it's for a purpose. It's not there because it's a coincidence. There are no coincidences in life.